Hi, watching NewsX. My name is Vineet Malhotra, and after it was decided that ASI will restore Sheesh Mahal, which is Emperor Aurangzeb's coronation site in Delhi Shalimar Bagh, many groups including the Gurudwara Prabandhak Committee and Delhi BJP have objected to the proposal, calling the emperor cruel and someone who was involved in converting people forcefully and destroying Hindu holy sites such as Ayodhya. The question now remains, if Aurangzeb indeed was a despotic ruler who killed and converted so many, should his fanaticism not be recognized, and could his coronation site perhaps be turned into a museum which showcases the truth about him instead? In fact, this mystery over Aurangzeb has existed for the longest time, ever since independence. Even in the book which was written by the first Prime Minister of our country, Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru, he goes on to in fact talk about Aurangzeb being a fanatic, but the details of in fact the way he ran the country was slipped under the carpet, the way he converted a lot of Hindus, the way he in fact demolished a lot of temples. All of that is perhaps allegory today, but there is in fact a truth in history to what his crimes also were. We'll talk about it. We'll talk about it in detail, and also we should discuss what is the essence of Aurangzeb today. Remember, folks, there was a time when roads were being named after him, where in fact cities were named after him, but all of that has changed today. Is there more to be done? Should history be corrected? Because let us not forget that history is not what has happened. It has what been reported to have happened. And we'll talk about this with our guest, Arjun Hardas. In fact, joins me in the studio. Sumit Peer is here with us as well, and Mohammad Ali Shah, political analyst, also with us on the panel. In fact, Arjun, let me start by asking you that what is the relevance or the non-relevance of an Aurangzeb today? We can talk about despotic rulers, we can talk about iconoclasts who have ruled a lot of countries. You will never find a street named after Hitler, but yet there was a street named after Aurangzeb for the largest part of our independence in Delhi, which has been recently changed. Do you think it's the history that needs to be corrected, or, the jury is still out?
It's not just, Vineet, it's not just a street. As a matter of fact, Aurangabad was named after.
Correct.
There are cities and all that have been named.
Correct.
And okay, there are two arguments here. One is, of course, that is history. There's a historical figure. That's it, and they keep it.
How can we be sure?
Well, that's
you can
also,
never
be sure. But the other factor also to be reminded is, we have had this problem since 47 after independence. Is that sort of a thing that okay, he was at the end of the day he was not an outsider. He was an Indian emperor who ruled. Okay, he did bad things, but then everybody did bad things at that time. There was nobody really who was innocent, whether it is a Muslim ruler or a Hindu ruler or a Sikh or whatever it was. It was a sort of a blanket secularization of history, so to say. Now, the word itself, of course, we've gone into a debate many times about the word secular and what it should mean and what it does mean, but we'll not get into that here. So the question was, okay, he did a bad thing, but then again, when people ask why should places be named after Aurangzeb, etc., it's again a question of then the retort immediately comes back. But then why named after, let's say, Akbar? Why named after other places? Why named after Tughlaq? Tughlaq Road is right next to Aurangzeb Road,
right?
Or what used to be Aurangzeb Road. So why have that kind of a name also?
Half of our cities are named
after cities. So it's a question of argumentative, and then again. We unfortunately had this situation.
But is there a city named after Hitler? After
I agree.
After Mussolini, after Idi Amin?
No, but this is exactly. I'm just coming to that. Is that Hitler, Mussolini, etc. Are recent figures where the people are still living who have memories of what they did. God alone knows what will happen 300 years from now. The people might whitewash. Also, the problem that happened is post-independence, our education at the end of the day was handed over to Marxists. Who have whitewashed, no, I'm sorry if you want to be blunt about it.
Please.
And they have whitewashed all history. For them, it doesn't matter whether Aurangzeb was a killer or not, was a mass murderer or not, is irrelevant to them. For them, it is like there is, and unfortunately, we today also, in today's culture, modern day, we also see this collaboration which is happening between Islamic murderers and communists and these Marxists. So for them, it's nothing very great. Okay, he killed a few people, so big deal. He destroyed a few temples, so big deal. Everybody did it.
Right. Okay. Well, Sumit, he did that in the name of religion. He in fact killed his own brother, Dara Shikoh. In fact, he beheaded Sikh Guru Tegh Bahadur Singh, because it was a different religion, and he destroyed over 10,000 temples, and yet here we are in 2020 talking about Aurangzeb and his presence still found in the architecture and the infrastructure of our country.
I think, Vinny, the point number one is the civilization who does not have temerity to write the correct history is only demeaning or defuming its future. That is what we have done, unfortunately. Whatever the history is,
But how can we be sure? The same question that I asked Arjun. How can we be sure?
I mean, let me complete.
Is it just the ideology that tells you,
it's not
okay,
ideology,
if he was a
you have to
Muslim
give
ruler,
facts.
he was against the Hindus? Is it an easy
surmise
surmise?
And numbers. First of all, there is nothing called Mughals. Mughals were the invaders from Uzbekistan. In our history, we Indianized them. Uzbekistan, the Babur came from Samara. I have been to Uzbekistan. I've seen him on a choke riding a horse. So I've been to Mongolia also, by the way. So, but when you indigenize these invaders and then you indigenize their misdeeds, that is where the problem starts coming in. You can put it under the carpet for some time, but ultimately they will come up. Because these people had come to India under a design, under an objective. They wanted to loot India, they wanted to take the maximum wealth from India. And if Aurangzeb killed a few million people, he dismantled Hindu shrines, 10,000 temples, and Kashi, Ayodhya and Mathura goes to this credit of Aurangzeb. And you know what did he do there? He dismantled the temple and put a dome on it. Why did he do that? He could have rebuilt the whole thing. He wanted to show his power. He wanted to show his existence. This is what I am. This is what Aurangzeb is all about. Now, there are two ways of throwing it. Look, this was Aurangzeb. He had come from a different country. He did this. We are sorry about it. Like the Germans say, they won the holocaust. They said it was bad. And go on. Second is you try to whitewash it, like what Sir said. You try to whitewash it, you try to hide it under the carpet. But the problem is when the skeletons come out, they look much more dangerous now. Now, eventually, these skeletons will come out. That has been the short-sightedness of somebody who could not see that. And one important point, just 1 second, 30 seconds more. To fight this Aurangzeb's mass murder and mass conversion and all, we have conveniently eliminated from this country 200 years of Sikh resistance. What were the 10 Sikh gurus? What did they do? Who killed them? Can anybody Google and find how did Guru Tegh Bahadur die? How did Guru Gobind Singh die? I don't want to say them on the TV. I let the nation go and Google and find themselves. I asked a kid, I said, who was Guru Tegh Bahadur? He said he was a saint. I said, who was Guru Gobind Singh? He was some guru.
Well,
because the problem is, Vineet, when they grow up and learn about the history, they are not going to feel good about you. They will feel deceived. Don't deceive them. Tell them what the truth is. Whatever the truth is, okay. We don't have to own that truth.
Correct.
We don't have to own that truth.
Guru Tegh Bahadur was a saint, and Muhammad Ali Shah, in fact, there are also notable writings about Aurangzeb in which he's also been referred to by many scholars, French scholars of his time, as a saint, as a wizard. The question basically is that are we so confused about Aurangzeb? And if we are so confused, what are we supposed to do about this confusion when it comes to actually passing on this information as disguised as history to the next generation? Is it going to be simple to in fact separate the wheat from the chaff?
Right, when you see, first you have to understand the fact. Why do we study history? Go back in the past. Historians do it for the knowledge to understand. We do it we don't cherry pick what is right, what is wrong. We understand the facts and we deal with them, right? Politicians, very interestingly, they only cherry pick the past, what suits their convenience. Black or white, they will pick out certain things from
So you're saying it's the politics which has been inserted into this particular realm that has maligned the true picture of Aurangzeb. Is that what you're saying?
Correct. See, after the coronation of Aurangzeb at Shalimar Bagh in 1659, and Mughal Emperor, the entire regime was so, only the toughest commander could survive over there, and he was the last emperor. We talk about him beheading Lala Shikoh, we talk about him killing other, but no one talks about the right wing, especially, who is obsessed by Aurangzeb more than anybody else. They do not talk about a ruler like Ashoka, who slaughtered more Hindus than anybody else before converting to Buddhism. There are many such rulers, they do not, but only what's similar. We have a Ashoka road in Delhi. Right. So now Aurangabad, yes, was named after Aurangzeb. We had a road on his name, but they will only cherry pick whatever history suits them.
But is it the same equivalence? I mean, converting people, and then if they refuse to convert, you kill them. And perhaps Ashoka killed a lot of people of his own religion, of his own creed. Maybe it was a war.
It was a war, Vineet. It was a war. It was
Yes.
not forced conversion.
Just a minute. Okay, talk about conversion. I agree. Okay, that is wrong.
Jizya, let's not forget Jizya.
Okay, Jizya tax was imposed, fine.
Right.
But let me tell you one thing about conversions. Like, there are Muslim Rajputs, Ragards who have converted, but that wasn't forced conversion again. You cannot convert anyone forcibly because it's a matter of faith and belief. Either you follow it from your heart or you don't. You cannot. Now, secondly, talking to converting to Hinduism, for example, I'll tell you. As per the scripture, you cannot convert to Hinduism. You will correct me on that. You can follow Hindu philosophy, all right. But you cannot convert. If a person from, say, Sikhism or Islam wants to convert to Hinduism, he cannot. As per scripture, he can follow the philosophy. Now, whereas on the other hand, I'll give you a small example of, forget about India, okay, about Cassius Clay, the great boxer, who's named Muhammad Ali, I'm named after him. He converted to Islam because Islam permits conversion. And forced conversion, that today when we talk about it, you cannot force anyone to convert. You can change the name, but ultimately
So
faith
are
is
you
not-
saying that Aurangzeb did not convert all those people and they were volunteers who in fact wanted to embrace Islam? That's
No, that's not my point. No,
is that what you're saying?
No, and you're fair enough to think that way, but that's not what I'm saying at all. What I'm saying is, see, for example, if we compare to Adolf Hitler, for example, that eugizing Aurangzeb is like comparing him with Adolf Hitler. But there's a lot of good work also which Aurangzeb had done, which goes under the books, which goes under the carpet because of the mass killing that undoubtedly he did. Yes, but there's good and there's bad in every person possible. As you correctly said, you have to see. You cannot cherry pick. This suits my requirement. In politics, that's exactly what's happening.
In fact, Arjun, there was a comment made by one of the political observers that the first seeds of partition perhaps were sowed by Aurangzeb.
Okay, this I'm not familiar with, so I'll have to look it up. But coming to what also Mohammed said, quite rightly, okay, there is another factor about, like you said, about conversion. Of course, this is not a debate for conversions, but the fact of the matter is, yes, you're right. You cannot force somebody if the person is against it. But if you hold a sword to the person's neck and said that you will convert,
that is forcing, right?
So that is forcing.
It's
So
a
anyway,
kind
we'll
of force.
not get into that. So that's a separate issue,
Yeah.
separate discussion. Question here is, again, like I said, what has happened in the last 70 years of history that we have been taught in schools is, you're right, Mohammed. What you said about is that you cannot cherry pick, you should give. But then what the problem is, we have been taught mostly all the good things without touching upon the evil things. It's been the reverse. Okay, your point of raising that, okay, it becomes politics when people talk only about the evil things that we did. That's fine. But at the same time, then also ignore and ignoring the good things. But what has happened is, we have had talking only about the good things that he built. Let's say, build this road, build that road, build this city, build this much infrastructure, built a, let's say, this thing. That's all good. He did it fine. He was the emperor. He had to do a lot of things. But he also did evil things. So why not talk about those evil things as well? Without whitewashing the evil things and as well as diminishing the good things.
That's fair. That's only being fair. But when you talk about a person's only the negative points, Ashoka, the great ruler.
Yes.
The great ruler.
Yes.
But no one talks about the mass killing that he had done before he converted into Buddhism.
I agree. So that is the question. But when it comes to the problem which it has happened is with Ashoka, why Aurangzeb specifically?
Why would you compare Aurangzeb
that kind of a
with
thing? Why Aurangzeb
Ashoka?
specifically?
Yeah.
Because Aurangzeb at the end of the day, let's be geographical also at the end of the day.
Aurangzeb was an expansionist.
Was in the north. He was openly declaring his faith. He was like, okay, the story which you must have read about the whole article that we are discussing, is that how Jahangir was his father was also a Muslim ruler at the end of the day. But what did he do? He said, I am an Indian. This movie, I don't know how accurate it is, Jodha Akbar, for example, in which people talk about the Tijori, and it's at one point Akbar says, what is this Tijori? We're not taking it back with us anywhere. Should be open. It's a treasury. We are Indians. At the end of the day, we are locals. Jahangir had the same impression. That's why he helped build the temple again and again. This fellow had his. Now we don't expect Mughal emperors and other emperors to be secular as the definition is. That's not going to happen. It never happened. Let's be realistic.
Yeah.
That was not the aim of these people. They were there to propagate their faith, etc.
But they close alive with the Rajput.
So politics was also active at that time. But the question here is, again, I'm coming back to what I had said earlier, and I've been saying, don't whitewash his crimes as much as don't ignore what are the positives done by anybody.
Fair enough.
Sumit, what do you make of this? In fact, there was also a legacy which has come under a lot of cloud for another ruler in part of southern India, Tipu Sultan. He also finds himself embroiled in controversies. There are evils that he also committed which have not been talked about, and his name is also being obliterated from history books.
I think, Vinny, the point here is that, what Major Saab said, when Ashoka waged a war, when any emperor waged a war, a lot of people got killed. Right. So you were not killing, you were not saying either you convert or I kill you. I'll tell you, the Kashmir was completely converted by Aurangzeb.
That's true.
Right. And I challenge people to go and find how did he kill Guru Tegh Bahadur. You will have shivers down your spine. I don't want to repeat on the national TV, but people can Google and find down, right? Now, this is called mass conversion. Either you convert or you die. Right? So that is where the problem is. If people are willingly converting, that's their call. But if you force people to convert, that is what Aurangzeb did. I mean, that is, so he is seen as a mass murderer because he vandalized temples, 10,000 temples, and the major 3 temples of Hindus were vandalized.
Kashi, Mathura,
Kashi, Mathura, and the way it was
done.
And
they still haven't been restored.
Yeah, only 2. I mean, Ayodhya, no, certainly there are 2 more which have to be done because it was done to show his supremacy, to show his power. You better listen to me. Vinith, we cannot forget 400 years of jizya. Come on, we cannot be fooling ourselves. There was nothing like that. Why should Hindus pay jizya in this country? And this time around, you will not have 10 Sikh gurus, spend 200 years fighting Aurangzeb. This might not happen now. So, whatever is the history, let it be known to the people. Let people know what the history is about. I mean, you don't have to own Aurangzeb. I don't have to own Aurangzeb. Aurangzeb was Aurangzeb. Leave him at that. But whatever he did, let the people know. Because by hiding it, you are casting aspersions, you are attaching motives to it, which is dangerous.
But how do you ascertain what's the truth? How do you in fact make up your mind?
You look at the Vinash. I would say the word Miraj jo usne kiya. And when he said raise the Ayodhya temple, he had given a farman for, I think, Kashi or when there was a farman issued by Aurangzeb. And the good thing about Kashi and Mathura is you don't need to send an ASI there. Blind man can go and find what it is. You do a Google, you find what it is. So I am not saying, what Aurangzeb was that right or wrong. He did what he did. He was illiterate. That's the best thing he could have done. But by owning him up, we are adding to that legacy. We have to distance himself from it. Aurangzeb did it. Khatam. He did it. That is, we don't own him up. Whatever he did, let him go down in history as a bigot or as a communal person. That's okay. But the moment we are hiding it, the moment we are trying to whitewash it, we are associating ourselves with it. That's where the danger is.
And Muhammad Ali Shah, do you think that it was, the initial few governments who perhaps took the correction or the redirection of this history very lightly? Because even in that book, which was written by Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru, Discovery of India, he does not talk about the evils, the crimes which were conducted by Aurangzeb. He only, in fact, talks about Aurangzeb, the art lover, Aurangzeb, the music lover. In fact, a lot of people don't know that he had banned music in his own house.
See, it was okay. I'll come to that. But also, the Varanasi court of the 1998, the Kashi Vishwanath you just mentioned about, Sumit. They have said, they've asked the Archaeological Survey of India to submit some, the documents about.
I'll answer that.
Yeah, please go ahead.
Yeah,
Yeah,
sure.
Let him finish.
Okay. Well, I have that with me right now. See, the court has decided to take a petition asking for archaeological survey of Gyan Vapi Mosque built by Aurangzeb after demolishing the Vishweshwar temple. Now, what do you have to say for that, Sumit?
Okay, sir. I'll show you. Can you ask your photographer to pan to this? This is from Google. Just pan to this. And
Zoom into that.
What more survey do you need to this? Do you think the people of country are stupid to buy this logic, Vinny? Can you zoom in, please?
Okay. Well, he's trying his best. If he zooms in anymore, there's going to be
From
pixelation.
Google.
This is from the
From
Google.
Google.
This is from
So
the
Google
Google.
is very reliable, you're trying to say.
No, this is not. There are numerous pictures like available.
Google is the gospel truth is what you're trying to say.
This is what is available. You can go and check it yourself, sir.
Please
I have
elaborate
been
that
there.
image for us. What are you trying to say through that?
This is how you can see the ruins of a temple and a mosque. That mosque was built over the temple. You can still see the walls of the temple. And this is not what I am alleging. And I have some spy satellite which has taken.
Where is this?
This is Gyan Vapi Mosque. This is Kashi. This is Kashi. This is what it is, Kashi. Let anybody in the country do a Google and find it. I did not pull it from any spy satellite. I don't have access to that here. This is for anybody's knowledge. This is why I'm born there, because I know somebody will bring this argument and I will have a picture. A picture is worth a billion words. This is what the picture is.
Okay,
I'm
but
not
Arjun, that also brings
Okay.
us to the question that why is the ASI not prioritizing what they're supposed to do? Isn't a restoration, a need of the hour for this particular site, which has just been flashed by Sumit?
Look, unfortunately, there are.
And here they are trying to, in fact, redecorate Aurangzeb's coronation site.
That is something that the ASI can answer themselves. That I can't really take a call on why they'd want to do this, specifically this and not anything. But that's a separate issue. Question here is also we have to be realistic about this is the 21st century. Okay, there are, whether we like it or not, there are internal fissures in this country which have this, and then there are elements in this country right-wing elements who also use this kind of a slur against Muslims, is that you are descendants of Aurangzeb. You are Aurangzeb ki aulad is the word they use, kind of a thing, which is insulting, I would say, even to the Muslim community.
Of course,
That's right.
Which is ridiculous.
Condescending. Yeah.
Condescending, no, it's insulting.
Yeah.
To associate a mass killer with the Indian Muslims, they're nothing like that. And let's not also ignore the fact that many Indian, after conversion or whatever it was, many Indian Muslims were also massacred by Aurangzeb. So it's not that he had any great love for Muslims only. versus others. So question, again we come back to that same point, is history has to be understood the way it is supposed to be, the way the facts are, facts. And not just what is speculation, what is personal interest, now it's a question of what this article was, the editorial said very clearly. Restoring this for what? Exactly what? I mean, everybody knows who Aurangzeb was. Exactly, they know where he was, where his inauguration took place, etc. And that's not the point. Replacing it, restoring it. You want to put up a museum, showcase that he did this bad things, he did this good thing. Put this up, make it into a museum. Let it be factual.
Museum in Germany.
Let's not compare with the Holocaust and all that. These are separate issues. Let's not bring it down to that level. Let's not nullify the Holocaust itself, which was a unique event. Let's as a separate issue. Here, honestly, at the end of the day, they were doing what they were supposed to do, as was the norm in the 16th, 17th, 15th century as medieval rulers. Kill people who don't agree. Now, for example, in Jerusalem, people talk about the dome, as the kind of thing.
Yeah, but Arjun, let's not forget that there are people
the Temple Mount.
There are people there are also people who deny the Holocaust ever happened.
No, that is, look, let's say the last
and
Holocaust survivor.
It happened a few decades ago.
Correct.
Doesn't mean that you cannot talk about.
But that is why they talk about both sides.
Did under the same breath.
No, that's true.
Also
but both sides. That is the role of a historian. Is keep the narrative factual.
That is the basic question. What is the role of a historian today?
Keep the narrative factual.
So as a politician become a historian?
You cannot be responsible for Aurangzeb's deeds. He did it in his wisdom. One part tha jo usko theek laga usne kiya. Now if you are covering it up, that is where the problem starts. Don't cover it up. Let it be known. Khatam. And I am telling you on national TV, Indian Muslims have nothing to do with Aurangzeb. They have nothing to do with Aurangzeb.
But he had a lot to do. But he had a lot to do with Indian Muslims, right?
Yeah, I mean, Aurangzeb ko bhaiya chhod do. I mean, let him be what he was.
Okay, let him
be represented as and what he was.
All right. In fact, Aurangzeb has.
Look, he was not a secular leader of the 20th century.
No matter what we think or the books say about Aurangzeb, the fact of the matter is that even in the entertainment industry, which we all in fact follow, and Mr. Muhammad Ali Shah also happens to be a part of, Aurangzeb is still depicted to be somebody who was diabolic, somebody who was sinister. In fact, one of the very recent movies that I saw, Tanaji, Aurangzeb was the main antagonist. So in fact, there's no jury out. Everybody knows what kind of a person he was.
For more such videos, subscribe to the NewsX YouTube channel, hit the bell icon.